I mean, what are the challenges that you're facing with regards to like providing these services? I believe you have data centers on the ships and stuff like that. So take us on the journey, kind of challenges that you're facing and how you overcome those.
I think the unique capability for us is the ship itself. The ship is a floating city. It's a Faraday cage. It's metal boxes. So we have 2 data centers per each vessel. And we not only support the hospital, which we kind of talking about today, but it's also we have a full-blown academy. We have over 800 and something people on board, from families, kids. So they actually have to go to school there.
I would never have thought about token generation on a ship out at sea. So that's an amazing thing. So the AI is helping the doctors, the medical staff better utilize their time.
Yeah,
by doing various things like transcribing. Hey everyone, David Bombal back with a very, very special guest from a great organization that I want to learn more about. Grady, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
So you got to tell me about Mercy Ships. I know about that, but I'm assuming a lot of people who are watching haven't. I think the mission's amazing, but tell us about it.
So with Mercy Ships, we're a nonprofit organization, and we serve the low-income countries of Africa. We do that through providing hope and healing to the world's most forgotten poor. And we do that through surgeries. So we provide free surgeries to these locations we go to. We have 2 hospital vessels, and one's currently in Sierra Leone, one's currently in Madagascar. And we provide surgeries. Not only do we do surgeries, we provide training to healthcare professionals in that country. There's a pretty big deficit between the healthcare professionals and the amount of patients or population in that world. And so we're able to bring training through our simulation labs on the ships and through doctors around the world, train them and bring their professionals kind of up to par too, along with the surgeries we provide to the people of the country.
I love this because, I'm from South Africa originally. So I know what it's like in certain parts of Africa, obviously not everywhere, but a lot of poverty, a lot of people have these medical issues. And what you guys are doing is life-changing for a lot of the people, right?
Very life-changing. Some of them are what we have outpatient processes for in most of, the United States and most places, and these people do not get it. And it's very life-changing for them to be, they kind of ostracized from their communities or their tribes or where they are, and they get to come here, get surgeries they would never get, being able to walk, see, cleft palates, to all different manners, to go back and feel now part of their village and more accepted, to be able to function as, adults, kids, whatever they are in their community. So it's a very special moment for them.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can imagine cleft palates, cataracts. I've seen a little bit, but you can give some examples maybe.
Oh, there's so many. I'm definitely not a medical provider or profession, so I don't want to kind of steal a little bit of that. But there's so many different examples of, I think, for me, just being able to be there during some of the field service and see some of the patients. For me, I get touched by the kids.
Of course.
Running around, you see kids that have, bow legs or deficiencies. When they come in there, they can't walk, they can't do anything. They're able to come there, and by the time they complete the surgeries and get done, they're running around the ship. They're running around with our staff and volunteers out there, smiling, jumping in your hands, and just the joy, and you see the twinkle in their eyes, and the thing is it just says that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's life-changing for those kids. It's amazing what you guys are doing, and it's a non-profit. So the surgeries that are being provided are free, I'm assuming.
All is non-profit. Donors around the world donate for our mission, and everything we do and provide for countries is free. From the surgeries to the training we provide healthcare providers. We also have what we call hope centers out in town we build, and that's where patients kind of come into and have their pre-op done before they go to surgery, and they kind of recovery there. We leave the hope centers for the country and their staff to manage, so everything is free of charge, and gracious donors around the world, vendors and partnerships like Robert in the back with Presidio helps us out and kind of keeps our mission going.
So, we're not medical professionals. No. We're more in the IT space, I would say. So I want to shift gears now and talk about the challenges. South Africa has blackouts. Well, I've had blackouts many, many times, load shedding as they call it. Other countries, I'm assuming it's even worse perhaps. There's no electricity or very poor electricity, dirty electricity, if you like. What are the challenges that you're facing with regards to providing these services? I believe you have data centers on the ships and stuff like that. So take us on the journey, kind of challenges that you're facing and how you overcome those.
I think we'll start there before we get into challenges of the country. I think for us, and I got the chance to live in South Africa, a wonderful place when we refitted one of the vessels for it back in Madagascar. So such an amazing place. But I think the unique capability for us is the ship itself. The ship is a floating city. It's a Faraday cage. It's metal boxes. So we have 2 data centers per each vessel. And we not only support the hospital, which we kind of talking about today, but it's also we have a full-blown academy. We have over 800 and something people on board, from families, kids, so they actually have to go to school there.
Oh, wow.
We have food services, so it's like a cruise liner, hospitality services. So each deck of the ship, Global Mercy is 175 meters long to give you perspective, 13 decks, and it's broken down in fire zones. So to be able to run with Presidio's help, kind of help us design the data centers and the switch stacks through what we call fire zones throughout the vessel, it's a pretty unique experience. Not something you kind of see around the world, how being able to get, Cisco switches and call manager service throughout the whole backbone. And we're able to connect all these systems, from hospital systems to marine operations systems to academy systems, and provide that through the vessel, because people live there. They need also their entertainment, their lifestyle, and be able to get Wi-Fi throughout the building, because you're in a still box. Like we're here in this building here, and you can get your cell phone and walk around and connect to Wi-Fi. So be able to do that throughout the vessel is a challenging experience. And I have a great team of engineers and architects that can get that done for us. But not only does the ship have its complexes, like I said, getting into a country even has some more of the complexes. We're really dependent on the ship for our data centers. We have the data center provide the power.
Yep.
So we're really dependent on the ship's power source to provide power, cooling, keep the data centers cool and all our gear. So we're really dependent on the ship to do that. When we get into port, the ship now is dependent somewhat still upon ship to shore power. And with the connections you have there, is not necessarily as, like you said, dirty power.
Yeah.
In South Africa, you mentioned the blackout. So all over the world in some of these countries, getting that power source to the ship is a difficult task. Along with bandwidth is a massive issue. We have a local internet provider, our satellite provider, SES, helps us out with a lot of the VSAT transmissions, and we're able to do that, but the bandwidth through that is limited. So we try to partner with the local internet provider in the country and run, in a sense, local ISP to the ship, so we can help out with that bandwidth. And keeping that connection up is, it's difficult. It's not just a normal line you get permanently put in. Sometimes we run fiber across telephone poles to get to the centers. We have things on the dock side for, patient selections and stuff like that, tents and stuff we need to get set up. So having all this complexity of moving vessel that moves every 10 months and goes into phase, and then going into a country that not necessarily is provided or able to support you in the way you need brings a lot of challenging times. And luckily for us, with partnerships like Presidio we talked about, helped us kind of design our data centers, kind of design these IDFs throughout the vessel, how we utilize them. So we're able to have doctors to be able to communicate not only on the ship, but back with doctors around the world, so we can actually complete some of these tasks. We have many different things for like CT scanners. For example, we are able to do imagery on the vessel, but the imagery is able to be sent off the vessel to doctors off the ship around the world that can help read these imageries and get that information back to the doctor that's providing the surgery in a timely manner. It's really it's a unique experience, I tell you that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very challenging, but it's like probably a lot of fun as well.
For me, it's a blast. I come out of retirement and went there to get the Global Mercy kind of into action. And the moment I walked in there, and just to see, because all our staff is 100% volunteers on the vessel. So when you get to see their hearts and what they put in the mission, and just the ability to challenge yourself as an IT guy, and to challenge the people to be able to complete that mission in, remote places of the world, and to see that is very, it's rewarding,
right?
for me. Oh, it's fulfilling, very rewarding.
I mean, money is one thing, but to see lives changed is much bigger.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, I'll use this term, I like it, Faraday cage. Wi-Fi must be quite a challenge.
It is very much a challenge. We can do heat maps through the vessel. When you think you have it right, you kind of set up all your APs, and the network team goes out and configures everything, and we have it deployed and installed, and then there's black spots, you want to call it. So it is very, very challenging to be able to do that. So you can walk, in a sense, from one part of the vessel to the other part of the vessel and still be connected. It is a unique place to do it. And then we have to run along with all the piping and wiring that the marine or operations team has for their capabilities to actually be a floating operating ship. So it's definitely challenging.
So why do you have two data centers?
Backup. We have a backup and main data centers. In case one fails, we have a failover capability, because we have them separated by fire zone. For if there was a fire or something that happened in one data center or one location of the ship, we had to shut that center down, that we'd still be able to fail over to the other data center, so the doctors and professionals that need to do their job wouldn't have to stop. We would have no downtime, in a sense, to be able to complete the mission.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. Data center, I'm assuming, is because everything's digitized now. So when they're doing x-rays, stuff like that, it's digital files these days. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's stored in the data center, but you also, like you said, sending it off ship, perhaps to the US or wherever it's going.
It's a team in Canada, and I apologize, I don't remember the name of the organization that reads it for us, but they're in Canada, and we contract them out to help read the imagery and do all that data to get it back to the ship.
How fast is the speed to the satellite?
It depends on the location.
Yeah.
If you're doing a satellite in Africa, not all the coverage is the same depending on what country, and Madagascar being one of the unique spaces of it. So we have 50 up, I think 30 down for our satellite, and we can have some of our local ISPs could be 200 megabits across, but
It's for a whole ship, though.
yeah, it's a whole ship, 800 something plus people, and it's not constant. And we basically have AI technology that basically route through, best path first.
Yeah.
So we're able to do kind of routing and different means to be able to utilize that bandwidth to benefit us. So we don't want all traffic. We kind of limit certain things during business hours and open up things during, normal kind of after hours, you would say. And we kind of can prioritize, such as radiology equipment, or if we're in a sale, we can prioritize marine operations stuff. They just seen NAPA reports or whatever they have to do for the sale. We're able to kind of prioritize that bandwidth based off that particular mission at that particular time of day.
So you've got, I'm assuming, routers running quality of service policies and stuff locally, stuff like that?
Yeah, we're mostly a switch operation. Okay. So we mostly do everything through Cisco 9300s that we have available, and with partners like Presidio that kind of helped us design how we can put that throughout. But we're mostly a switch organization.
So you keep mentioning Rob, and he's been off camera. Rob, you got to come and share some of the technical stuff. You work for a partner, so come on, Rob. Great to have you on the show, man.
Thank you.
So you got to tell me how you involved, and what's the company you work for, and what are you doing to support this amazing mission?
Yeah, so Mercy Ships has been a 10-year client of Presidio. That's where I work. So I currently serve as the Chief Technology Officer. And the story and the mission around what Mercy Ships does obviously is not only something that tugs at your heartstrings, but obviously just a great human aspect of it as well.
But I mean, this kind of stuff doesn't happen with no input, no donors, people donating to the cause.
Yeah.
So what's the kind of technologies you guys are using to try and make the connection from on the ground to the people who are supporting this amazing mission?
Yeah, you talked about it, not-for-profit, and so a key component is there a way that we can help in optimizing the funding rounds and what we're doing from a donation perspective? And so you talked about one aspect with Grady around what we're doing to be able to capture the overall patient experience, right? So the journey of the individuals that are coming in for these surgeries and the impact that it's had on their lives. That's one aspect. Other aspects are utilizing AI technologies within a lot of what we see, in partnership with Cisco, as an example, in their collaboration as well as their contact center suites to be able to do things like provide real-time information while conversations are going on with potential donors, right? So if a donor were to get on the call and say, hey, well, talk to me about some of these surgeries, maybe give me an example, and utilizing the technology to be able to, in real time, bring that information up so that these call center agents can have this conversation with them. That's one example.
I love that. I mean, this is such a great mission, and it's great to see how Cisco Technologies and you guys are supporting them in this. But I got to ask you this, right? Grady's already shared some of the challenges in the ship, but you must have some stories as well about the kind of challenges you guys have faced. Like, what kind of cabling are you using in the ship, and what kind of other challenges have you faced?
Yeah, I think the big one, as he talked about, it's not even the sense that it's just this Faraday cage, but all of the protections that you have to put in place because it's a maritime vessel. And so even if you're thinking about design-wise, as if they were to have to close off a fire zone, now you have even more impedance from a wireless perspective and connectivity standpoint. And so if that scenario were to occur, how are we going to continue to provide service and coverage across the entire ship? And so those are all considerations that in normal situations you don't run into, obviously in typical data centers. And so it's definitely unique from that challenge. The other thing is that as we start to think about how we want to apply different AI techniques and things that we've talked about around things like ambient digital scribe, because at the end of the day, if we can apply the technologies to provide the clinicians as much time as possible, because they're volunteers as well, right? They're doing these shifts to actually provide surgeries and diagnosis for patients versus doing paperwork or filling out various different sheets, then those are ways that we can improve and actually get even more additional surgeries to get done. That requires GPUs. Obviously, they run kind of hot. A lot of potential environmental cooling impact that we have to account for. And then you're talking about the constraint of, while it is a floating ship, city, it is constrained in terms of the equipment that you can put on there. And so how do we readjust the way that we are now looking at things like being better efficient with the way that we're providing tokens for the various different AI use cases that we're building?
So what kind of, that's really interesting. What kind of AI use cases are you using on the ship? You said, is it like scheduling? What's the AI actually doing?
The AI that we're talking about in terms of clinician interactivity, some of the things around ambient digital scribe may seem simple.
What is that? Just explain that to us.
The ability for AI to be able to capture things while people are having these conversations and transcribe that, be able to summarize that, place those into patient records.
Okay. So like a doctor's talking to a patient, sorry to interrupt
100%.
And that gets automatically transcribed by the AI.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And so you think about not having to do any of that paperwork, right? Taking that burden off of the clinician so that they can actually serve more patients.
I would never have thought about token generation on a ship out at sea. So that's an amazing thing. So the AI is helping the doctors, the medical staff better utilize their time.
Yeah.
By doing various things like transcribing.
Yeah, and if you think, so there's obviously lots of services that do that, but they're curated cloud-based services.
Yes,
and
that's a good point.
And what's the one thing you don't have great connectivity, right? So if we can limit the amount of connectivity that's used from a cloud perspective for the things that are most important, which would be the telehealth, right? Being able to provide CT scans to remote doctors so that diagnosis could be done by multiple physicians. Like, that's far more important than being able to access a cloud-based service for entertainment or whatever it might be.
So you're running a local AI in the data center?
So those are some of the things that we're working on right now, planning out, figuring out, especially with, and Grady will probably talk about it, the next big ship that we're also assisting in building.
Grady, great to have you back. So Rob mentioned the new ship that's being built, because you've got currently 2 ships out there, and then a new one's being built. How long does it take to build these things?
Years. So we currently have 2. The Global Mercy is the big kind of franchise ship. We have the Africa Mercy, which was a refitted rail liner. And we're currently bringing in a new ship, the Africa Mercy 2. We just did steel cutting ceremony on the 29th of October, and we should have it delivered to us March of 2028. So that's fast for us in a timeline of cutting steel to actually production of ship. But the Global Mercy took us, it was during COVID and different things happened, but it took us almost 8 years to have that ship from build to in operations of full service. So it's a significant time.
Yeah, I mean, especially from a technology point of view. I mean, 8 years, things change dramatically. So are you doing anything differently on the new ship, or thinking about perhaps new technologies that you're going to implement? Or are you keeping a bunch of stuff the same?
Kind of a little bit of all. I think for us, we want the teams to be able to have the Gold Mercy and the new Africa Mercy 2 to kind of look the same, so it's easier to manage 2 of the same structures. However, we want to have a new modern vessel. So bringing new technology to the Africa Mercy 2 is very key for us, partnering up with Presidio and other companies to help bring that new technology to have us a modern ship. I think for us, the timing of how long it takes to get in there, we want to make sure we are still architecting and building and running wires and cables to all the spots and desks that need it. But at the same time, we're kind of at the time frames that we want to order gear so it's not implemented, put on the ship, and then by the time it gets into full service, it's already out the date, it's end of life or something. So we try to have a perfect timing there, innovation, bringing in new technology and how we can support it, and then what innovation will be available and new come 2028 and 2029 when the ship is available. We want to make sure we don't have an outdated ship by the time it gets there.
What kind of cabling are you guys using? Is it fiber? Is it Cat 6? What kind of cabling is in the ship?
A mix of them all. So it depends on the device. We support all, like I said earlier, all marine operations, every piece of gear, every phone that goes across the vessel. So we have fiber running across the vessel. We have Cat 8 running across the vessel. We have coax for depending on satellite transmissions. We have power cables. Just when I was in Durban, South Africa, we were refitting one of the ship and we ran over 30,000 meters of cable. It's just to go all over the vessel, because once the cable is in the wall, it's there to stay. So it's a unique kind of getting it through and then penetrating fire zones. And we talked about that earlier. Just the cabling and how to do that is kind of unique for us.
I mean, you must have some stories where things go wrong, right? And I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are there things that have happened that, and like something, a cable gets cut, or there's a flood or a fire or something, and you guys have to manage that kind of situation?
Yes, more frequently than we would like to say. Like we talked about earlier, we're talking about some of how we get internet service providers to the vessel. We don't necessarily pull in a port that actually is pre-cabled and configured for a ship to be there. So some of the cabling is really ran across telephone lines. It's ran on the ground, and we try to do our best to protect it. But there's any given day that trucks, cable lines will get cut, and all services will be severed to the vessel. We train for fire drills, flood drills. Luckily, during my time there, we haven't had any major issues. But power, I think, is one of our biggest things. So that the ship generator or something goes out, we will lose power to one of our UPSs, because all our data centers are made off two UPSs. So we have one leg of each thing, the switch or whatever else goes to one UPS versus another. And if we have a power fluctuation on the ship, which does happen regularly, you could potentially lose power to whatever it could. And with that comes, as you know, destroying or managing of a switch. And if the switch goes down, then having to find it, and you have remote networkers, is, we sometimes can't remote into that because the internet connections may be down. It makes it for a unique troubleshooting experience. And then running around trying to figure that out and our Hope centers are ran off generators. So there is no power to a lot of those. They're literally fuel generators. So we have to shut things down when we fill generators up. Same with the data centers. It's not a constant, steady thing of power. And if the ship has to, start up their engines and do it so often, just do their marine operations thing. So they may need to do maintenance to their circuit boards, which happens regularly. And then we'll have to coordinate with us. And then we'll have to either remotely go in and shut down every data center so it doesn't lose power, bring it back up. And we kind of manage that during operations time, so it may happen on the weekend and stuff. There's so many different crazy examples of just something you wouldn't normally see in your normal work environment.
You got to give us a story, like some more stories. Have you got some more that you can share?
Yeah, one of the recent ones that we had was in Sierra Leone. We were going through an emergency surgery, and they were needing to send imagery back to do, like we talked about earlier, send imagery back to get it read. And at the moment we needed to get that imagery sent, services got interrupted. So we had no services out. So at that time,
during the operation,
so we were trying to get this emergency imagery back to the Canada to read, and the vendors there to read it. And we had at that time, was a lot of information on what the outage was caused. So we spent hours trying to jump in, get everyone on deck, remotely trying to remote in to figure out what the cause was for the latency or the lack of ability to do that. Come to find out, like I said, it was a tractor had ran over one of the cables out in town. And then not only had it ran over during the repair, one of the local engineers from in town came by and bumped the power cable that was plugged the switch into the thing. So it turned into a hot mess of now trying to figure out secondary means to get that imagery sent back to red during that thing. So the team worked very diligently and quickly, running all over themselves, trying to patch fiber, plug it in, and kind of figure out the scenario.
I got to ask you this, right? Let's say someone who's watching is moved by the story and wants to get involved. What are the options? Like, let's say I'm a network engineer or I'm a cybersecurity specialist and I want to help. What can I do?
Many different options there. So if you go to the volunteer website, if you want to become a volunteer on it, there's many different jobs that we IT department have on the vessel that they can go look at. We talked about the AI chatbots. You can actually type in some information, it give you data back, but you can actually apply to come out and serve on one of the vessels and work in the IT department. We don't just take volunteers for the hospital. We take volunteers for all ranges of jobs that it takes to keep that city up in operation there. So that's one way you can do it. Come out and volunteer your time and service. You can volunteer your expertise. Get in. We take plenty of people all the time to volunteer, their expertise. They're good at like you said, cybersecurity. They want to donate their time and effort to it. Communicate with us, talk to us, and we'll get you involved in that. Donating from a financial standpoint. We take donators from all around the world that donate. That's how we complete our missions and talk. And then there's way that vendors, we have a corporate partnership relationship, and with our team there partners with teams like Presidio and other vendors, Cisco, so we can have some kind of global partnership and agreements to help us bring that new technology to our ships. We don't do that, freely. It's with donors giving us donor money we have to spend, and we do that wisely, or we do that through vendors and people that are able to donate their time, money, and assets to us to be able to complete our mission.
I love that. Thanks so much for sharing, Grady. Great to have you on the show.
Sir.
And really appreciate the mission. So for everyone who's watching, if you want to get involved, go to the website. I've put links below where you can get involved. Go and donate your time or your money to support this amazing mission.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.